Beth Hansen, artist and visionary and tarot reader, energy worker, Reiki master from harmonygoddess.com. With me today, we are talking with Rachel Kmecheck, and she is a printmaker and designer out of Wisconsin. And she does amazing, amazing old style prints, both was it woodblock printing or lino cut printing?
Lino and intaglio, yes.
Intaglio. Okay. So what we're going to be talking about today is just, what her inspirations are and whatnot. But before we begin, Rachel, I have a surprise for you. We did not discuss this, but
Oh.
because I am a intuitive psychic tarot advisor, I have got my deck out here for you. So I'm going to just pull a little 3-card spread for you. If you're up for that,
Ooh.
starting with this is Rachel Kmecheck out from Wisconsin, and she is our Cauldron Collab buddy for the month of June here. And I am just going to pull a quick 3-card reading for Rachel to start out this month of collab-y goodness. So the first card we have for you is the 7 of Wands. 7 of Wands has a wonderful energy to it. It's all about holding your space of, it's basically you are really busy working on staying on top of all the things, including your competitors. It is a sign of fire. So we've got fire energy going there, and that is how you present yourself in the world, in your work and in your life. And it shows you are really busy making sure you're the one getting seen and that you are dominating. And that's sort of what led you to this place. It's like, I am going to be the one who wins the game of top of the mountain. And you are the one who is above in this scene. You are that fox energy going on, and the fox wins the game in this deck. And it's definitely been a really busy time for you, very active, and a lot of making sure that your voice gets heard.
So true.
So where you are in the present moment, you are the Phoenix. Death and rebirth. It is the death card. Congratulations, you got a major arcana of the death card showing you are in a transformation. You are being reborn in a new image. This is a new phase for you in your life. You are letting go of what no longer serves you. There are things in your life that you no longer need, and that you, by that energy you put out there to succeed and show up in the world, you now are showing up and you're letting go of the things that no longer serve you, and you're honoring your time and space and what you want to build for your future. The final card is the 2 of Pentacles. And Pentacles is the manifestation card. As you can see, we've got our juggler here with his pentacles up in the air, sort of standing tippy-toe on top of that precipice. But you got this, because these are all skills that you've already learned in order to manage your time, your money, and any other resources such as health, well-being, making sure you've got time for friends, family, community. You are winning it, and this brings good things. 2 is a very wonderful card. It is a card of knowing what is right for you. It's the card of, I know this is right for me. And so this is your future card, and you know what you're doing is right for your future, for building a sense of groundedness and a sense of, there's a playfulness to it as well. So that's a really exciting thing too. So, but you do have a lot of things up in the air that you are going to be balancing, but you have the skills to do so. So did that all make sense to you, Rachel?
Oh, yeah, I definitely am. My business and my art is really catapulting right now. There are a few things I'm juggling too. So it's like, yep, I'm feeling that right now.
Yep. You're a wife and a dog mom, and you wear a few different hats in order to make this crazy art business go. So really appreciate you being here for our Cauldron collab, because you do amazing, amazing work. I love what you're doing through your website, and not only are you doing these old time handmade prints, you're also designing beautiful things for people's homes and lifestyles. So you've got some wonderful things there at modernmedievalpress.com. And let me just pull up the chat here, and I'm going to just put the link to your website. So Kent can take a look at your stuff, and anybody else who's coming in can take a look at your stuff. Let me just get that up real quick here. And tell it while I'm getting that link up here, why don't you talk a little bit about what you've been up to recently and what your focus has been for your art.
Sure. So in addition to this collab, I am also part of a local art residency program. And that program is, sadly, all the good things come to an end, and that is ending in July. And we have a big show for that in an art gallery. And so not only am I in this collab with you, Beth, but I'm also working on a collab of a very large piece. It's the biggest piece I've ever done. I'm very excited and a little nervous.
Right.
But it's coming together, and I'm very happy with how things are turning out, and I can't wait to share that with the world. And once that is completed, there is just so many ideas and so many things that I want to, expand upon. Like I have like this giant list of all these ideas, and I'm like, I want to start working on so many of them.
Yes, I hear you. It's like when I come up with a new idea, I have to write it down or it will go away. And,
Yep.
I think I'm doing one thing next, and then all of a sudden a new idea just pushes that right out of the way and saying, no, you have to do me now. And so I always think it's best to work from inspiration rather than, trying to follow any ridiculous trends that are going on. Being true to your art shines through. As a artist and a maker, it really does resonate with people, and it's our souls out there on the page saying hello, and people get so much out of that. So that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. So let's get on with this. I have a few questions for you here. I really want to know from you. Let me just get my questions up. Here we go. Where do you get your inspiration and insight for your creative process? And what is it that fuels your artistic vision? I guess that's kind of a two-part thing.
So I am, obviously, by my business name, Modern Medieval Press, I am very inspired by the past, whether it is the art techniques that they used back in the day, whether it was the imagery or the architecture, or something about the past that I'm really drawn to.
Right.
And And so I like to pull inspiration from the past, but then kind of make it more modern, make it more me, make my own interpretation of what was created, 400 or 500 years ago.
Mhm.
And so that is just kind of like the where the modern medieval press comes from. Or sometimes it's like, well, I just made it on my printing press. And I'm like, well, there we go. And so like, I like to be very fluid in how I combine the old and the new, or maybe I just kind of do my own thing and just do something a little different. And it,
Absolutely.
yeah. And so I like sometimes it just hits me so hard that I'm like, why didn't I think of this before?
Very cool. So here's a question. How do you know when a piece is finished?
Ooh.
When is it good enough to lay down the ink and do the thing?
Well, so for printing, I like to do some test runs.
Okay.
And when I do that, I kind of look at what I printed compared to the plate and to see if I need to add more detail.
Okay.
Um, sometimes it's always a little bit like there has to be a good balance of like just enough.
Hmm.
But sometimes the ink or the day or the humidity of the day, like, sometimes there's always those little variables
Wow.
that
Yeah, that's a lot to think about.
you can't always control them. And sometimes
Oh,
it's the age of the plate. It's the type of ink you're using, or if you're using a modifier, and all these types of variables it can affect your final piece.
right.
And sometimes you get to a point where it's like, well, this is, it's like some days you just like you look at it and it's just like that's the one. Like if you're looking for one good piece, one good print, and then you're like, voila, this is perfect. And it's hard to tell when the piece is finished sometimes.
Right. So, my next question for you is, what is it that you're currently working on or exploring in your artwork? Your current direction?
So in addition to my collab piece, which I don't know if I can show you. Can I show you my plate? It's a big
Yeah,
one.
that would be cool. I
The
would
big
love
one.
to see your plate.
So it might be hard to see, but it's a cat. It's a architecture from La Familia thing. Boy, I'm going to butcher the name, but it's a very famous architecture cast or church in Barcelona.
Okay.
And this will be a collab with some real fused glass pieces on the actual final piece.
Hmm.
So that's like kind of like the big kahuna, as I'm calling it. It's the big
Yes.
one. Um, and then after that, I have also been um, looking more local
Hmm.
and looking at local history and things like that. And I am my next collection, I'll tell you first. My next collection is going to be based on kind of like I'm calling it like the Wisconsin cryptids or the Wisco cryptids, because it's like
Oh,
the
oh my gosh, that is so fun. Ah,
so
I didn't know Wisconsin had cryptids, but apparently they do.
well, we do. Yes, we have a lot of them. And so, like, I've been working, there's like, a lot of water. And so we have a lot of lakes. And
Yeah.
so this is like the beast of Lake Winnebago. And then there's just so much history. And there's a lot of like Native American, there's folklore,
Oh,
there's,
wow.
not true. They might not be true, but what if they were? What
Yeah.
would it look like? And like,
Yeah.
like Sasquatch and just all these types of other um, real mythical creatures that are very local to me. So I am starting to work on that next.
That is fantastic. Yeah, and people don't know, but Rachel and I have been like supporting each other with weekly chats to, talk about, the business side of things and encourage one another and vent occasionally. But yeah, she has been keeping that little gem under wraps for a while. So that's
Mhm.
super cool. And I'm very excited to see what you do with that. Okay, so um, and that sort of leads us into what has been your biggest challenge as an artist? What has been the biggest thing that you've had to overcome in order to make this thing go? And it can be personal or creative or, whatever it is, feel free to share whatever you're comfortable sharing here.
I think a lot of it has to do with the inner critic and the external critics,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of, you know, dealing with that, and really just kind of, taking what other people say about my art with a grain of salt. And it's like, I don't have to listen to you. I don't have to um listen to your critique and you telling me it's bad and this kind of stuff. And so there's just a lot of that, and then a lot of like internal self-doubt, like, am I doing the right thing? Like, there's a lot of inner critic, like, is this right? Is this going to be successful? Is this, you can go off the rabbit hole, down the rabbit hole,
Yeah.
and the tangents. And like, there's just a lot of self-doubt sometimes, especially when you're new and you're starting.
Yep. Yep. Okay, super. Uh, so then let's talk about, you know, are there some particular artists that have influenced your style? How did you decide to be a printmaker and build this printing machine in your basement to make this incredible art? Where the heck did that come from? That's what I want to know.
So I took a class at a art supply store. And then she had a little mini printing press that would fit on your table, like a 5x7.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really kind of fell in love with it. And I managed to find a similar one that was a tabletop version. And then, of course, then COVID happened, right? Yeah,
Right? Yeah.
yeah, all
Yeah.
that good stuff. And I've, I spent a lot of that time really just kind of working and playing with the press, and just learning more about that art style and how it works, and the history of the printing press, and how the printing press really kind of really pushed the world into a whole new era, like basically
Mm-hmm.
the Renaissance era.
Yeah.
And then also, kind of at that same time, a lot of the old time manuscripts were being digitized because everything was shut down, no one was visiting, and all that kind of good stuff. So then, I spent a lot of time really just diving in. You can look page by
Fun,
page,
fun, fun, fun.
and
Love
just like,
that.
it was just like really just so much fun. And that's kind of how modern medieval press was kind of born.
Yeah.
And when COVID kind of ended, things were starting to open back up. I had some new pieces, and I'm like, well, I'm just going to start putting them in local shows
Mhm.
and local galleries and things like that, and just to kind of see how they do and things like that. And I got turned away a lot
Yeah.
because of the size, because they're like, this is just too small for us, and this isn't what we're looking for. And I'm like, well, I'll show you. It was a little bit of defiance in there, and I'm like, uh-huh, okay. Um,
Mhm.
so then it was another year of planning, designing, and implementing with my dad, who built me my press, and installing it. And now I'm finally getting to use it, and it just feels really good. And it
Oh,
feels it
that's
feels
nice.
like home, if
Oh,
this feels so right.
that's awesome. That is what a great origin story for all
Mhm.
that. Um, and I guess let's see here. What advice would you give to any aspiring artists out there? Because, you know, this interview is going to go on my Zoom channel. So I want to make sure we're touching on those people who are gonna be like, okay, now that you're in it, what advice do you have for somebody either just getting started or interested in your particular style of printmaking, and what advice you would have for them?
I would give the advice of just give yourself the license to be creative.
Mhm.
And, there are lots of good resources I have recently found that, great places online to talk to other artists and printmakers, especially, and just to really, get that kind of feedback and just be like, well, how do I do this? And there's a lot of people that are beautiful printmakers. They don't have a printing press. They just do it all by hand, and they just press the ink by hand, and and their work is beautiful. So, and my business has and my art has evolved into bigger and bigger, but
Mhm.
that certainly didn't happen overnight. That took
Right.
years. It
Yeah.
took years to get to where I am at. So you can't, you know, feel like, I don't want an aspiring artist to feel like a failure because they're not where I am at in 30 days.
Wow. That's a really good bit of advice for sure. And yeah, that is what I would say to any aspiring artist as well. Take take your time with it. It didn't happen for me overnight, and doesn't happen for Rachel overnight. It doesn't happen for anybody overnight. And so if you could pick any artist to study with, currently or across time, from the past, living or dead, who would it be and why?
Ooh, that's a hard one. There are so many artists I would love to talk to from the past, but I think the one I would want to start with,
Mhm.
I think that would be Holbein.
Oh, yes. Oh my God. Yeah, Holbein was amazing. Absolutely.
Yes, and especially just, not just learning from him as an artist, but just learning about the people he painted. Like he painted so many people from the Tudor dynasty. And, like there were some times where I'm sure he was probably wondering if he was going to lose his head.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. If you don't please Henry VIII with your portrait. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
like there
that's
there are just definitely
the
a lot of things
stakes
I would
are
love.
pretty high in that era for artists.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were.
hmm Okay, so we've already touched a little bit on how your art has evolved over time. Um, and you're currently actually doing a collaboration on that piece with another
Mhm.
artist, and
Yep.
they're a stained glass artist, is that right?
They're fused glass.
Used glass.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. I have no idea how that's going to come together. That's going to be amaze balls. That's all I have to say.
Oh
Amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be amazing. So definitely going to be looking for that. And so we've talked about the visual arts and how those inspire. What are the other creative art forms that you either participate in or enjoy, or that's your go-to thing just to make you happy? I'm thinking of a one in particular that I know both you and I do, or at least I have done in the past.
Let's see. I do like to watercolor too, whether it is to embellish a print or just to work on it on its own. I just love watercolor, and there's a lot of like, uh, you know, historical reference and like learning how to make the paint. And like, if you wanted to go down that rabbit hole and like how they did it in period time with egg wash and all this kind of beautiful, like how they came up with all of the formulas. I'm like, it's
Right.
just, I just love it. And I don't do that personally. I wish I had the time, but but I respect it. And at least I learned why they picked certain colors to represent certain people. Because of the expense of the paint.
Sure.
It's why you see like the Virgin Mary in blue a lot in manuscripts, because the lapis lazuli was the most expensive thing at the time.
Yeah.
And so you put that on the important people.
Yep. So when you're creating, when you're sitting down to create, do you have like a soundtrack that you listen to, any music, podcasts? Do you have the TV on in the background, or do you like to create in complete and total silence? What, what gets you in the mood? Does it affect how you're painting, drawing, coming up with ideas? Do you have any other like audio input while you work?
Um, well, when you have a dog and a couple cats, there is no complete silence. There
No,
really isn't.
right. Yeah.
But I do like to have, when I'm down here carving or printing, I really do like to have something going on in the background. Lately, it's just, I just like to have like Netflix run in the background, but I like to have like those kind of like older, more historical shows. Whether they're historically accurate or not is another question. But like I like to have like the Tudors in the background, or Vikings, or something that's kind of like set back in the day. I really like to just have that in the background, and it's
Cool.
something I've watched a million times, so it's not like I pay attention to it, but it's just kind of, it's just there.
Yeah.
If I listen to podcasts, they tend to be more business related podcasts, and then I want to like get up and go do the thing I just learned. So I don't do that too much.
Yep, I hear you. Okay, yeah. So I do a little bit of that myself. I'll wire wrap while watching TV, or if I'm sketching, I can do that in the living room in front of the TV. Um, depends on what I'm working on, whether I'm listening to a podcast. It's usually more my spiritual path, or the Prancing Pony Lord of the Rings podcast or something like that, where it's not business. I don't really listen to business podcasts. But yeah, I was just curious as to, if you have your soundtrack going and getting all that medieval music pumped through your getting that vibration going for you. So I think I'm coming down to the end of my question list. Let me see what else I've got here. All right. Okay, so this is one that it's a little, I hope it makes sense when I ask you, what are the touch points of intersectionality that connect you with other works of art and their creators?
I think a lot of the touch points that I am kind of into recently is a lot of like the carving techniques and like the printmaking techniques. I like to really watch what other people do and why they do it. And sometimes you learn really good about the materials or like how they do it. Like I was just watching someone the other day of how they kind of do like a stipple effect with printmaking. And I'm like, oh my God, that was amazing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to try that and see what happens. And like I'm excited to try it for a new piece. And I don't know what I'm gonna use it for yet, but I think it'll be amazing.
Very
To
cool.
create more depth and just create, just evolving my skills.
All right. So I have one other question. What do you do for fun?
Well,
Other than your art. Can't be can't be related to modern medieval press. That's your business. What do you do for fun?
Let's see. Well, I do some dance,
Mhm.
so I like to um kind of get the blood flowing and to just be expressive more in the physical body and just to have some fun and the sisterhood, the collaboration, and
Mhm.
just to be somewhere else and to do something a little different.
Very
So,
cool. All right. And so where can we find your artwork? I already posted the link to your website, Modern Medieval Press, in the chat there. Um, so where else can people find you? Do you have any shows coming up, or where is there any physical places that have your artwork for sale or?
let's see. So I don't have anything confirmed yet for my next in-person event. I'm waiting to hear back, but
Okay.
maybe the Minnesota Renaissance Fair
Ooh, that would be cool.
to
Uh,
be a guest artist there for a weekend. That's kind of one of my goals is to
okay.
get in
So
there.
for let's see here. So do you have, yep, you've got a list of events on your website, it looks like. Uh,
Yes.
so yeah, so it looks like all of these are in the past, but hopefully there'll be some new stuff coming up soon. And so that's cool. And what's the name of the gallery that you're doing that show for? That's going to be ending in July.
So the
Where is
gallery
that?
is called the Art Garage in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Okay.
The opening reception is July 11th, but the art will be up for almost the whole month of July.
Okay.
And yeah, so like I'm always looking to be in more physical stores, to have my artwork out there more in the world. So if anyone wants to reach out and wants to collab with that and to have some of my pieces in their store, I'm more than happy with that.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, you can also find me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook too.
Yep. And you have a beautiful website and everything is linked there. And you can always drop into our Facebook group, the Harmony Goddess Circle, and because you're a member there, and you're going to be posting hopefully some cool stuff throughout the rest of the month because this is a collab for the month, so you can share your work. And I normally don't have other artists promote their stuff here, but that's what the collab's all about, is highlighting other artists who don't do exactly what I do, but you know, you can decorate your home. You make pillows and blankets
Mhm.
and notebooks and all kinds of good things that people can have in their homes. So, uh, just wrapping up here, do you have any final things that you want to say to anybody in our audience today, Rachel?
Well, I just want to say thank you so much, Beth, for coming up with this and letting me be your first collab person. I am just so honored and
Oh,
and I'm excited to see this grow and to continue to talk to other people and to just really just, this great interview kind of style. Like this was wonderful. I just wanted to
okay.
say thank you.
You're very welcome, Rachel. And so best to you, your hubby, and your cats and dog, and you have yourself a great summer Saturday. And uh, you know, we'll see everyone in the circle, in the Facebook group. So
Yes.
talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.